So we are going to watch and review this new documentary, Onision in Real Life. Now, I feel it's particularly pertinent for us to watch it and talk about it because we have all the ends of the spectrum. We have myself, who is very familiar.
We know we're all on the spectrum. What's your point?
Myself, who's very, very familiar with everything to do with Onision at this point, and outside of Onision, the investigation in general. We have the ferret, who knows some things.
And I'm over here like, what's this about an onion, son?
He knows next to nothing, and is, hypothetically speaking, the target audience of this documentary according to Chris's bullshit.
I mean, just based on the description, apparently I'm supposed to know he's a YouTube star?
Yes.
This is already more than I knew.
So we're going to open with a quick history of this situation for both anyone that isn't familiar and to catch him up to speed, because as anyone who knows, there's some stuff you need to know going into this. Onision was not a great guy. He was very manipulative, very abusive to women. One tweet that I've seen that probably sums it up the best is, "Nothing screams, I'm a groomer, more than a grown man in his 30s who knows the exact age of consent in every state." He had lots of grooming allegations, lots of situations. A lot of YouTubers had been calling him out for years before this point. He had a lot of other really creepy stuff about him, but that was the big problems. Like starting his own cult. I'd say about 2 years back or so, I don't remember the exact date, they'll probably tell us in this, Chris Hansen came onto the scene. We all know Chris Hansen. We all loved Chris Hansen back then.
Yep.
Why don't you have a seat right over there? Yeah. Big sexy.
I know Chris Hansen. That's pretty much the only time I've ever heard this name is you were discussing it at the time.
Well, everyone knows Chris Hansen.
Well, I'm just saying, you discussed this with me at the time briefly, and I
forgot.
I remember that he called 911 and said, "Chris Hansen is stalking me."
Yes! So that was one of the things that happened, was he physically went to Onision's house. And we all thought it was amazing at the time. Now, the problem was, we realized over a period of time that Chris is a grifter. That he, frankly, doesn't know anything about any of this. He's never known anything about anything. He's issued many takedown strikes against anyone showing his face. And overall, he is a piece of shit. To the point where when he ran out of credible people to review, when he ran out of credible people to interview, he started interviewing Tumblr blogs.
I don't know, that's where I get my best information.
Like, the said Tumblr blog admitted to being high on drugs when she went on his channel. And he didn't do any kind of vetting process. He just did it.
You mean that's
up to the point where in the interview, she says that Onision has killed people. And our journalist...
If we define brain cells as people...
Yeah.
Then I know of at least 2 of mine.
And the cutting-edge journalist Chris Hansen doesn't go, "What are the sources on this? You can't have milk, kitty. How do you know this?" He just goes, "Tell me more about that." And never questions or challenges anything. He did a lot of really sus things, including basically make sure that no one would ever go to jail over this whole Onision investigation. There was a laptop with messages showing that not Onision, but his... Okay, this is a difficult thing because now it's his husband, but at the time it was his wife. She has transitioned. At the time they were called Lanybot, now they're called Kai.
I have to remember 2 names?
The point is that they had done some illegal things, and the laptop supposedly had that on it.
Oh.
And Chris went, "Send us the laptop." At which point he never passed it on to the FBI, and instead he left it with his incompetent tech person. And by tech person, I mean any one of the 3 of us would be a more effective tech person. In fact, the cat might be a more effective tech person.
She is looking at that computer very intently.
Who then expressed his intent to tamper with the hard drive. And it sat with him for 1.5 years.
Yeah, that's my reaction.
Around this time, the whole investigation fell apart. The community began eating itself. And there was a huge blowout involving one of his first victims, Shiloh. Shiloh lived with him for a very long time. They were together. And the victim with the laptop had gotten her laptop back. Like, she demanded it back from them, and she sent it off to the FBI herself.
Like she should have.
Yes.
But I digress.
But as a result, she asked online, she basically put up a crowdfunding thing saying, hey, I'm going back to school, I need a new laptop. The YouTuber Nicholas Diorio called this into question because, one, she had stated in the past she never wanted to receive money for any of this, for being a victim. Two, why did she suddenly need a new laptop? Like, she hadn't had this laptop for 1.5 years. Did she not go to school for that 1.5 years? And three, she put up the GoFundMe, not a GoFundMe, the crowdfunding, on a site where you couldn't see how much towards the goal had already been donated.
Did they have those?
Apparently. So it wasn't clear how much money had been given to her. So he called those 3 things out, not in a hey, you lying way, just in a, hey, explanation, please way. At which point Shiloh attacked him, claimed he was a predator using the hashtag #deplatformpredators, encouraged her fans to dox him, encouraged her fans to deplatform him, attempted to dox him, threatened several other people, had a huge Onision-level meltdown.
So this isn't even the person that had the crowdfunding thing?
Nope, it was a different victim.
Alright.
Who has claimed responsibility for all the other victims. She says she's going to protect all of them and that she's like the head of their sisterhood. That's her reasoning for why she blew up at him like this.
Well, I'm glad they had a bonding moment.
So that was a thing. And then everything quieted down. And then Chris came out with a big announcement. This is his big announcement. That technically he didn't come out with the announcement. I think it was Esquire came out with the announcement that he had sold the rights to a documentary.
How exactly did he get the rights from the interviews? Was that all the only way?
That was what people basically said, to which he responded that it's all about the victims, we're a problem, and that no one has sold the rights to anything. And Esquire came out and basically said, yeah, we phrased it poorly. It looks like now no one's really discussed anything, but it looks like he didn't technically sell the rights. He sold the rights to his interviews, and he sold himself talking about it. So they insisted everything was going to be okay. No one believed him. The documentary reached out to several major YouTubers who actually knew things about the story, unlike Chris Hansen, trying to ask them to be on it. All of them went, no, because all of the victims, the alleged victims, I have to say alleged because otherwise Onision might sue me. All of them said, we're not going to do it. We are not comfortable with having our stories shared. We are not doing the documentary.
Didn't they already share their stories?
Yes. With Chris, they never agreed to share them with a documentary.
But they got published. What's the difference?
Whether or not they had any say or involvement in it, but they weren't comfortable with it. They said, we're not going to be involved in this documentary. They all denounced the documentary.
Did the documentary have their interviews, though?
Their interviews with Chris. Yeah. Well, what good documentary doesn't want their own interviews?
Fair, but I'm just saying it's not like they're getting out of their stories being shared like this at all.
So about that, one YouTuber agreed to do it. He will be in the documentary. He agreed to do it because the documentary people swore up and down to him and other people that no stories of any victim would be shared or talked about in the documentary if they had not agreed to it.
So what's left?
So Discovery Plus was the one that paid for this, right?
Sure.
This is how they are trying to sell their thing. Is Discovery Plus is made up of exactly the same stuff that we have on Hulu. The only unique thing they have is their Discovery Plus Originals, which include things like this, or not House Hunter, but they're taking the first season of House Hunter and sitting down, I think it was 8 comedians, and having them riff House Hunters.
Great concept, but why pick such a terrible show?
Alright, so with the formalities out of the way of catching you up to speed, let's go! Some of Greg Onision Jackson's videos were created with satirical intent.
I feel like that's a disclaimer so they don't get sued by Onion Song.
Yeah, but what are they disclaiming?
That if they recreate his videos,
No.
that they might be satirical?
They're saying that his videos were created with satirical intent.
Yeah, so if they recreate his videos, which is a true event that they were made.
I don't understand already.
So it's going to be satirical or satirical?
No, it's going to be dramatization of a satirical.
The series was intended for mature audiences. That's not us.
No, viewer discretion is strongly advised. There we go. I can't see. Right.
September 17th, 2020?
That's
What are we
recent.
doing? Yeah, what are we doing that recently?
This guy who calls himself one of the most honest YouTubers might have been honest the whole time. Oh!
Ah! Forgot about that piece. Hansen tried to interview Onision. Onision said, sure, couple grand. Hansen said no. Onision said, fine, I'll do the interview, but it has to be live. Hansen said, or it has to be not unmonetized. Hansen said, no, we're not doing it unmonetized. We will do it our way. Onision said, fine, but it has, if you're going to do it pre-recorded and then put it up afterwards, I'm going to live stream it on my end. So then Hansen said, no, we're not doing it. So Onision was like, fine, we can pre-record it. And Hansen said no and ran like a little bitch. So Onision let literally whatever YouTuber took him up on the offer of interviewing him live on the condition it was not monetized. So someone took him up on the offer and did a really good interview. At which point Chris made a fuss about how Onision had been the one to bulk the entire time, and if he ever wanted to do a real interview with a real reporter, he would talk to Chris.
So are these explanations supposed to make me less confused? Because so far I know there is a whiny, edgy 12-year-old talking to us. And that you've said a lot of confusing stuff.
What is this set? And also, is that Repsion's voice?
What you're about to watch is, in fact, a rape enablerist.
The young woman that he's victimized and manipulated and really abused emotionally, he doesn't see them as victims.
Someone's...
I genuinely
Recording?
don't know why YouTube still allows him on the platform.
He is a serial abuser, a sexual predator. He is a monster.
It makes it...
So he raises a good point. What did you say? Because I doubt the camera picked it up.
Am I supposed to know who these voices are?
That's the thing. I recognize most of these voices.
I noticed most
For context, what they're saying, they're playing clips from various YouTube videos about Onision. But there's no way you would know that if you don't know the whole situation already. Like, these are just statements out of nowhere.
I mean, I suppose they're trying to set up a mood of, hey, we don't know what's going on because we can't get people to work with us.
To find out whether or not he's going to ever be held accountable.
He won't, because he knows exactly how to skirt the law.
He needs to be put in jail.
From what I understand, he knows how to do a lot with skirts.
Huh?
A Windows boot up sound?
People insulting my body. You should die in a hole.
Is this actually Shiloh? I
So
don't
many
pay much attention
terrible,
to her because she's kind of a
fucked up
trash
things.
human being.
This could get so bad. This could get so bad.
Oh, God.
That's Shiloh!
Was she always that ugly?
Yes. Reminder, all of the victims stated that they were not going to be in the documentary and that they needed to be together in being against this documentary.
Isn't she supposed to be their mother hen?
Yes. She's in the documentary.
Alright, well, good to know she can actually follow her own ideas.
People have requested that I show you how to put on emo
What does an
Charlie's
emo
makeup.
makeup
So
tutorial
I
have to do with
that.
anything?
Now I'm Charlie.
I genuinely don't remember what the first video I ever saw of him was.
Why would you pick that video out of all of his videos?
Bouncing around and being so. Shortly after that, I saw his I Am a Banana video.
I'm a banana. I'm a banana.
Where is that coming from?
I mean, as a 16-year-old, I was like, oh, that's cool. He's cool. In response to,
I didn't think
I have
that.
so much more judgment for you.
What 16-year-old looks at the I'm a Banana song and goes, that's cool, you're cool. Really?
I don't know.
You have to be severely repressed to find that interesting.
The clips they're choosing to use feel detached from any kind of meaning.
I wonder if she chose them.
Maybe they had meaning to her?
Also, this is a weird starting off point. We're not starting off with talking about him rating underage girls and his very creepy fan pages. We're not talking about him bullying Eugenia Cooney.
We're talking about the third ugliest woman I've seen this week, discussing her life when she was younger.
But it almost feels from the outset like what they've done is they got an interview and then they just kind of let that interview play instead of trying to build a narrative. Unless they're still building their narrative, but we're almost 5 minutes in.
I think, hear me out. I think they're trying to get us primed and ready and through the eyes of someone else. So
Fair.
they're like,
Actually,
hey,
have they even really told us who Shiloh is yet?
No.
she said she was once a child star.
I mean, why this is relevant to Onion Song. They haven't mentioned that part yet. This is a
Well,
person
they're
that
starting
watched
to
his
discuss
videos.
They're starting to discuss that she watched his videos.
That's what happened. She
looks
found
like a
me.
child.
I love you.
Because she is back then.
The reality
I know,
is
it's
I've
just
just never been
creepy.
loved this much in my entire life.
Looking back on it all now, I was a baby. I was a kid. I was naive. I had no idea what I was getting into.
All fair and accurate statements.
Baby.
But I'll do everything.
Any of the criticisms are valid? Yeah, some of them are.
I first learned about Onision when I was just scrolling through YouTube
Hang on.
and got
Didn't Greg say at the start of this that no one had reached out to him?
Yeah.
Clearly they did.
I'm enjoying seeing a scumbag get his ass handed to him.
I.
At that moment,
You admitted that there were some
there's kind of a
problems.
story here.
Yep.
So I wrote, "Who is Onision?" And it spread like wildfire because the story itself is absolutely fascinating.
It's a vast gallery of...
It spread like wild. What spread like wildfire?
Who is
The
on-
word?
Who is Onision?
In
No,
the sentence?
he's suggesting he wrote, like he wrote something, and it spread like wildfire. I've never heard of this man. I swear to God, I've been all over the Onision investigation since before Chris Hansen was involved. And I've never once heard of this man.
Maybe he's been an outsider looking in?
I mean, I know who he is retroactively now because of the Magikarp shirt, because of watching some other people respond to the documentary. That is the executive producer of this shit show that is claiming he had no actual executive control over the final product.
Maybe he's been an outsider looking in.
But then why would
Then
he
what is
say
he talking
this
about that
sentence
blew
he
up?
wrote spread like wildfire?
Yeah.
Because it's still information that he's like, huh, that's a lot of info I didn't know before.
No, he's saying something blew up and spread like wildfire.
That he did.
Because
I've never heard of this man.
He doesn't explain what it is that he did that spread like wildfire.
he was asking, who is Onion?
I don't think that's what he's talking about. Hang on.
He said, I wrote Who is Onision, and it spread like wildfire.
Wait. I think I got... He's a fucking Newsweek. He's a Newsweek person. He's a Newsweek journalist, and Who is Onision was an article that he wrote.
So an outsider.
No, babe, okay, for you who clearly doesn't understand semantic use of the English language, he's saying this article blew up and spread like wildfire.
And he never says it's an article. He just says, and I wrote Who is Onision, and it blew up.
That's why I
We're
was
supposed
saying,
to understand that's an
semantically
article, I
speaking,
suppose.
what you were describing is not in the slightest what he was saying.
That's what I got from it.
It's not in the slightest what he's saying. He's not saying Onision himself blew up. That's
The
not
info
even
about
implied.
it blew up in his head.
It's also not at all what he's saying.
He said it went worldwide, so I don't know why his head would go worldwide in his head.
He's saying that he wrote this and it exploded, and yet I've never heard of this man. Never heard of this man.
Early days was really a wild west where there really weren't many rules.
What?
It was started in 2005, and by 2007, it's a massive success.
I know it's sooner than you expected,
Yes?
but
Oni meaning one, and Saya meaning divine community. According to him, I haven't
I thought
found the
Oni
import
meant
language.
demon.
Somehow people like the idea of being their own self-made star, and then also becoming fans of people that are relatable.
Are you going to
Onision
explain
had fans
why
because
people
he was
do
an outcast,
YouTube?
And he attracted.
And then their audiences started to merge.
That really helped them reach a
Okay.
really big level of stardom.
This week's submission.
I guess that's how we're just...
It comes to us from Onision.
I'm a banana again.
Everyone was talking about I'm a
Oh,
Banana.
yeah.
Can you not?
No, it really blew up. In 2011, Greg goes to his
You
first
didn't know it
VidCon,
became this giant thing.
a YouTube-centric convention. The convention for the Onision channel is massive. He has lots of collaborations with YouTubers. He does.
That was a weird phrasing, right?
Yeah, it made it sound like the convention was actually about him.
Yeah.
Wrong phrasing.
Like, I know what he meant. For the Onision channel, that convention was a big deal, but the way he phrased it...
Yeah, there was no comma in there.
Yeah.
Well, so far they've told me nothing, except he is YouTuber.
Yeah, and we are 10 minutes in, but they...
And he divorced his wife to marry someone who was 17 at the time. Or get together with someone who was 17. And
yeah.
they've jumped to a couple different perspectives of other people I don't know.
You know, actually, it would have made more sense to put her story after this part where they're describing his rise to popularity.
Yeah.
It's almost like they added that to get your interest, and now they're having to backtrace and explain to some boomers why someone would contact a YouTube star.
Or arguably, they're trying currently to explain what a YouTube star is. They just finished with that part.
Which, I guess I can understand that part.
I can understand them having it.
I
don't
can
know why it wasn't
understand exactly. And I can understand them trying to explain his rise, because that is information that most people, such as yourself, don't have.
Actually, these three sections I've had so far, the three people talking, completely backwards order. This is explaining his rise. The other was explaining the start of the controversy, and then the up next is an explanation of someone in it.
The Kiss with Shane Dawson that pretty much manages to put him at the peak of his popularity.
Yeah.
Excuse me, what?
Which they both described very differently.
Collaborating with other people helped him become
Who's that?
accepted by
Some
audiences.
person
Yeah.
laughing at
Who
it.
was that?
Some person that didn't consent to have their face in it laughing at it.
Well, it seems they were more into it, as you know, girls back then were.
That doesn't change my confusion.
So thick the necklace barely fits.
I think when he joined YouTube in 2006, people were overwhelmingly supportive of him being on the platform.
For the most part, yes.
It wasn't until these women wanted to talk that the overall dialogue started to change.
No way!
Where do you think they're going with this?
No way! Hang on!
Isn't the thumbs down button always on the other side?
No, I need a second.
Somewhere in the
I need a
middle?
second. They fucking edited it. They fucking edited it.
What?
Explain, babe.
I need a second. Okay, you remember how I said that I've been following this before we watched it? Okay, that's not what it said.
I think when he joined YouTube in 2006, people were overwhelmingly supportive of him being on the platform. It wasn't until Chris Hansen's YouTube story that the overall dialogue started to change.
It used to say Chris Hansen, and they got a ton of shit for that. Because it's categorically false. The statement remains categorically false. Things did not drastically change once these women wanted to talk, because Shiloh refused to talk for a very long time. The only one who really talked was one named Billy, and even she got shouted down, but there was a very outspoken group that was against Onision, even back then.
Was this called People with Common Sense?
Horrible. And everyone in the comments was like, oh my god, Chris Hansen's going after Onision? Wow, things are finally gonna happen. The predator hunter is hunting a predator.
To be fair, it wasn't just the community. Chris was making a lot of claims.
I woke up one day with 320,000 subscribers and millions of views.
I just woke up one day to have 320,000 subscribers. Oh, you mean on your second channel? After your first channel got terminated by YouTube for trying to put up clips that you didn't own, but you felt you did because you were in them? And you got terminated and you ban evaded and you shouldn't be allowed on YouTube right now? That channel? Chris?
Hansen's running around calling me a psycho brat. That's not even a word as far as I know.
Tens of thousands of people started talking about it.
You have to be controversial, and you have to be over the top.
For what?
It's exhilarating. People love to watch bad guy.
If you guys ever see me in public, don't approach me.
What purpose do these clips serve?
I don't know.
Showing how insane he is?
Are these all Onion song?
Yes.
Yes.
He decided to
ski masks.
He
show he's
decided
not
to
crazy?
play up everyone calling him crazy by acting extra crazy.
I'm not seeing a difference besides the ski mask.
Yeah, I know.
Right? But
But to be fair, it does improve his appearance.
I guess it tells a narrative, but it's not. The clips they're choosing seem very random. In fact, it almost feels like they're choosing clips because they're like, ooh, he said a naughty word. Hey, that wetland's looking real wet. You wouldn't know anything about that, would you, Greg?
I mean, I'm not too strange, I'm not too crazy. You call me crazy and maybe I'll go crazy.
I watched his videos for years. And
No
his
idea.
ability to look at things, I mean, all really creative people can take the ordinary and the mundane and just make it special and magical. You know, kind of the mad genius.
Okay.
special and magical?
Yeah,
It's special.
It is special.
Onision is special there.
But I don't know about magical. Yeah. It's,
Special.
It almost felt, call it me being hypercritical, but it almost felt like they couldn't allow a positive statement to stand. His dad made a genuinely positive statement about young Greg and young Greg's stuff. And they felt the need to play clips of what I haven't watched his oldest videos, but what I would guess is probably some of his weirdest off-the-wall stuff.
When he was still trying to get his footing.
I guarantee you they could have played something that backed up his dad's point better, but that wasn't the point they wanted to make.
What's the point they wanted to make? That his dad is detached from reality?
That he's always been unsettled.
And that his dad didn't see this? What was the point of bringing his dad in to say nice things if they were going to include that and then try and refute those claims?
My guess would be that they brought his dad in and asked him questions, and the dad just said nice things. It's an interview, you can't choose what the guy's going to say.
True, we can choose to leave it in.
What were they going to do? Cut it out at random?
Oh, true, they're already starved for content. They started with Shiloh. Clearly
They
didn't
needed
have any
to-
good interviews.
They needed to milk 3 hours out of this.
They didn't need to. They could have gone, this was a terrible idea. We apologize for saying we were going to do it.
I guarantee you they'd already paid Chris.
Oh, yeah.
And then he started getting just increasingly belligerent, not listening to us.
We call that a teenager.
It continued to escalate from there.
We call that a teenager.
Is an internet kid.
Who's supposedly searching the internet right now?
Before YouTube, he is spending a lot of time creating these daily blog posts and creating content. He's creating forums and websites in a way that a lot of people aren't doing in his middle school and teenage years.
So what? So did Steve Jobs.
He realized that he could have a certain amount of power over people online.
He
did?
He knew everything about everything.
Yes.
Swear to God, if you are a meat eater, don't open your stupid, stank mouth. I don't feel bad because when it comes to the principle, I know I'm right.
Greg was very judgmental and opinionated.
What did that clip show?
I don't know.
No, it was his first video. It was clearly being crazy. So this has always been like that.
And now we jump back to 2001?
The court sentenced him to 2 years probation and mandatory counseling. They don't do that if there wasn't a real problem, an underlying problem.
Ah, now to use Greg's own argument against me, if I did nothing wrong, why aren't I in jail? Or if I did something wrong, why aren't I in jail? Well, you've been in jail. Well, not in jail, but punished for it. QED, you did something wrong. But that's really interesting to hear his dad and stepmom's perspective, because I don't think we've ever heard or seen from his dad before.
Never.
We've always heard him talk about how awful his dad is. But that's real. That's like genuinely new thing.
Because I like having both points of views.
And I find one of them inherently more trustworthy than the other. 2001 wasn't some magical era where parents were automatically believed over children in terms of abuse situations.
Yep.
There had to have been more going on than just a he said, she said in that incident. You know?
I mean, if they pulled off into a gas station, I would presume there were outside viewers.
Yep.
Probably. Also,
potentially CCTV.
Also, they probably would have taken a look at Greg, and if he's actually being choked, especially to the point where his speech is muffled, he'd have marks on his neck that show he was damaged. And I guarantee you there were no marks. Otherwise, the judge would have said, "Yep, self-defense, you're in trouble for hurting your son." Not give Greg 2 years probation for hurting his dad.
Especially because how old they say he was? 15?
15 or 16, yeah.
Generally, that would be tried as a child in probation. I don't think would be on the table most of the time.
It'd be juvie, I think.
It's a different set of terms for it. If it got put in the court documents as probation, that meant tried as an adult.
Ooh.
I believe.
So, to me, it seems obvious that Greg's talking shit.
Greg and Sky both grew up in the same town and went to the same high school.
Hang on.
They were both fairly...
Hang on. Are we saying Sky doesn't count as a victim? They said no victims would be included. None of the alleged victims would be included in this if they had not granted their permission and were interviewed and everything.
Well, you see, this is before she was a victim.
Is that seriously the fucking excuse they're gonna
I don't know!
A lot of the things I do on my website don't really actually identify exactly who I am. They just say a little bit of what I can do.
He creates this series
What kind of
called
statement
Odd
was that?
Dolls,
Like, that's a defensive thing.
where him and Sky create these weird, basically like Barbie dolls talking to each other.
Oh my god, those chicks are so stupid.
He just said it doesn't represent him.
This was his first really successful attempt at creating content on YouTube. It gets featured on YouTube's front page. He posts daily.
Are we
He is
back to that?
dedicated to YouTube.
What is this timeline?
Maybe it's just whipping around?
It is.
It's definitely whipping around. I've had less whiplash on a roller coaster. Okay, guys. Get a piece of paper. Make an outline.
Narrative flow.
If you cannot explain that outline to the pizza guy you called in, then rewrite it.
I've seen more narrative flow in some of my college classes from people who clearly spent less time on the paper than I did.
Oh, by the way, his entire military thing, he's told a lot of very different stories about that. And whether or not he was honorably discharged is very much in question, but I guess they're not going to touch that. Which, I mean, that part doesn't really matter. So that's fine not to touch.
But I feel like companies such as this should be able to
get those
access
records?
those records fairly easily.
You would think. You would certainly think, which is why it bugs me.
That they just went
that
off
they just
of his
kind of
statement.
You would think they would have some kind of information and that they would actually show it, not skim over it.
Or, be able to look at any records on when he was in the military, other than, hey, we have some pictures of him in a uniform.
But here's the thing, that would require research, and I haven't seen anything yet that demonstrates they did any kind of research.
True.
Everything I've seen so far lines up with everything I saw Chris Hansen do, which is ask other people to do the research and interview them.
You see a guy who's posting controversial opinions that people would not
There's
necessarily
nothing wrong with
agree
controversial
or be
opinions,
able to connect with.
But because it was different and it was edgy, that wasn't really represented anywhere else. A lot of people liked it.
He was free to just say whatever the hell he wanted. This was his outlet.
Hey guys, welcome to...
You're presenting that like it's a problem. Like there's something wrong with that. That's the...
He presented his opinion and people agreed with him, even though it was controversial. He's wrong.
That's not okay. They're presenting that as a problem, as something that needs to be corrected, and
they're then trying to frame it as a problem with him, not with the fact that's how the site works.
No, it sounded like they were framing it as a problem with the site, too. I mean, hang on, let me back it up and take a look at it again.
He was free to just say whatever the hell he wanted. This was his outlet. Hey guys.
Yeah, it sounds like he's saying the fact that he was free to say whatever he wanted was the problem.
But even elsewhere on YouTube, though, is
I think you
blonde guy,
Edwin.
As he was saying, even this was the place people could find that agreed
Yes,
with him.
Edwin doesn't seem to be saying that, but Magikarp Shirt Man.
Well, he's a Newsweek reporter.
Right, but he seems to be expressing that it's not okay, that YouTube was an outlet, that he was free to post this on YouTube.
Well, because he doesn't agree with the opinion. So why would anyone? He's a reporter, he knows more.
Also, I can argue that you're looking at this too, what's the word? Negatively? Maybe he was on the same opinion that he said this was negative, and a lot of people disagreed with it. So...
But then why would you phrase it that way? Why would you say
We've
in that
already
context?
had issues with his phrasing.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure this man just cannot phrase things.
Just like I can't phrase things.
So you're suggesting that he doesn't actually mean it that way, that he's just incompetent.
Or that he's bad at phrasing things.
So incompetent. His job is to phrase things. He's a reporter.
Like, you're not incompetent when you phrase things poorly, because that isn't your job.
This man gets paid to phrase things.
When it comes to Onision Speaks, I think it was closer to being a preacher.
That.
I think he saw his channel as a pew and his audience as, constituents. I think Onision created videos that were targeted at young women who didn't necessarily have a sense of who they were. But here's what it comes down to.
And?
You were beautiful, you were smart, and you have your...
Like, he did, but everyone makes videos with a target. Everyone makes books with a target demographic.
If you don't have a target demographic, then your target demographic is nobody.
Exactly.
Well, maybe Filthy Frank didn't have really a target demographic.
He did.
He made it for himself.
And people that are as crazy as him.
Fair.
His target demographic, I would argue, is lightcore weeaboos, meme lords in their 14s to 20s.
Fair.
That would be, I would argue, his demographic. It's like one of the main things you go into when you start writing a book. What's your target demographic? That decides a lot of how you're going to write the book.
Or even
you do it with a
if
TV
you-
show, you do it
Or
with
even
a movie.
if you write it, your editor's first question. All right, and who are you trying to sell this to?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what they're going to give you opinions on how to change it so they can market it like that.
So
you should go, here's a book, and they go, book.
It feels like they're being like, oh, this is so creepy. He had a target demographic of young ladies. And I'm like, so did Stephanie Meyer.
Well, that was creepy.
Yeah, but
too.
she was a lady.
No one's saying it wasn't creepy. That's why I specifically picked her. But I'm just saying, everyone has a target demographic. Are we really saying Greg's a bad person
Also, can we
for
go
having
back,
a target
can
demographic?
we go
The
back
problem
to
is-
the argument of the guy's bad at his job? He saw his channel as a pew.
Okay.
And his viewers as constituents. Those two things aren't related, first of all.
Also,
Secondly,
Did he mean something different than
I
constituent?
think he
or am
meant
I-
congregation.
That was what I
And
was
I
guessing.
think by pew, he meant pulpit.
That was what I think he meant. But, like, constituent? Am I totally misremembering what that word means?
Serving to compose or make up a thing, component. Having power to frame or alter a political constitution or fundamental law as distinguished from lawmaking power. A constituent element, material, or a component. Person who authorizes another to act in his or her behalf as a voter in a district represented by an elected official.
That's the one it's usually.
An element considered as a part of construction.
But that one's the one that it usually is. Someone who lets you vote for them. Or on their behalf.
Yeah, that is the fourth definition.
That's the usual definition used. But none of those definitions
Because normally
match.
it's essentially the engineering or the political version.
Yeah. None of those match his use of constituent.
So, yeah, this is one more reason I don't use Newsweek for any of my citations.
And he quickly developed a following and a romantic attraction from this demographic. They
Not
wanted to
uncommon.
talk to him. They
I
wanted
could
to
make
be
that
a
same
part this
claim of
movement.
90% of YouTube.
It was really
We
something.
can make that claim about every boy band ever.
Yeah.
Though boy bands to me were creepy as well.
While Greg is married to Sky, Shiloh messages Greg. From
Okay,
the
so
they start to talk on Skype.
We've come
Quite a
full
lot.
circle now.
When me and him first started talking back
Oh,
and
they're showing
forth,
your face again.
he was in Seattle, Washington, and I was in Toronto. We're on opposite sides of the country at this time.
You're in different countries.
We're on opposite sides of the country. Do you mean continent, darling? You're in different countries. Continent.
Special.
I know you've lived in the US for a while and gotten used to the concept that we make up everything, but we don't. Genuinely, though, it's kind of sad because, like she said, she opened for Lady Gaga. Justin Bieber opened for her. She had a very real music career that Greg ruined.
She might have made some good music in the future. Might have.
For that reason, and a lot of more specific reasons.
Why have we added an echo onto this?
I don't know.
I was gonna ask, where's that echo coming from?
They must have added it in post. There's no reason Greg would have it on the actual video. Who uploaded this? Everything else that they've shown that's on YouTube, in the bottom corner has the person's name, everything like that. What is this that it's got 7 upvotes? This looks like somebody lazily threw together
a fake thing to put a video in and make it look like it's on YouTube.
What am I looking at?
You're very nitpicky.
Look at it! But this echo has no place.
I can agree with that, but you're very nitpicky.
That's our
Honestly,
job.
if they hadn't had the echo, we might not have noticed.
Yeah. If they hadn't had the echo, we wouldn't have paused and asked more questions.
Called me up.
What is this setup? What are we looking at?
Is that supposed to be Onion-san's setup?
I don't.
I will say plenty of bad things about Onion-san all day and every day, but never once have I thought he was having an anonymous mask hanging next to his...
It's not an anonymous mask. It doesn't have the goatee.
It's just... It looks stupid.
I recognize this.
Also, who's Kaya? Google?
No, I don't mean the Kansas Association of Insurance Agents.
Maybe it was just some copyright-free thing they threw together?
My opinion is that it is okay to fantasize about most anything, so long as you are not hurting anyone.
Fully accurate.
As long as you don't act on it. Thoughts are not illegal.
Thoughts are definitely not illegal.
That's how fantasy works.
Yeah.
We're back. We're still in Toronto, Canada, still 2010.
Yeah, we were just friends. I throw 3 hearts at the end of all my messages with friends.
Wait, are we going backwards again?
To back when they were talking every night that we just went over and then went a bit forward.
We went a bit forward. He said, I have papers. It's going to be a divorce. And she's like, I could have been saved. Are we going backwards again? What monkey edited this?
No,
I'd like to think that the dumbass wrote it in this order.
Oh my god. That's fair. That's fair. I shouldn't blame it on whoever the poor editor was.
We can make fun of the editor for a bunch of different things, I'm sure.
Yes.
But that one I will not blame on him.
At the time, so the sexual conversations me and him were having were
Is
never
that supposed to
about
be
sex,
Greg?
But about
I
my
think so.
curiosities towards sex.
It looks nothing like Greg.
Well, you see, some of the scenes have been recreated.
You couldn't get a better actor?
That was their warning at the start, was exactly for that,
I
I
was
think.
17. At a certain point, he had asked to fly me out and do videos with me.
See,
and my mom's
okay, all that stuff, we're finally onto something sus. It took 32 minutes for us to be onto something sus. Everything up until now, I'm like, I know that that's a problem, but the way you're phrasing it, none of that is a problem.
Yeah, and
Although
I'm
then
looking at all
again-
this going, alright, so we're getting a backstory of how YouTube works, and an explanation of how YouTube works that you're trying to phrase as a problem to hide the fact that every media outlet uses this.
Mm-hmm. Before this point, you remember he brought up the thing about a 16-year-old messaged me on these forums about being attracted. There were really, really sus things going on with the forums. So if we're gonna discuss those things, we need to go back in time again. If we're gonna discuss the Eugenia stuff, I'm pretty sure we need to go back in time again.
Well, listen, if we wrote it all in one order, in an actual timeline, the entire first episode of the documentary would have just been explaining who he was, and we didn't really think that would capture your attention that much,
No.
trying to figure out what was going on before we started explaining things that were going on after you needed details.
You set up catching our attention with all those voice clips at the start. All you would have needed to do was between sections of his life, throw in more of those clips that hint at things that are upcoming, and you could have done it in a coherent manner.
I'm
and
not
kept
saying
attention.
I agree they could have. I'm trying to give a stupid line of logic that might be what they used.
He didn't want me talking to my mom if she did certain things when we were having arguments. He said that's so wrong, Shiloh. Nobody should ever do that to you. Somebody who loves you would never do that to you.
That's exactly
It's
true.
sneaky and
Maybe. Here's the thing. What was she telling him?
Here's the other thing. What was he saying he shouldn't talk to her mom because of?
And like,
we need details to know what's going on there. It's like, yeah, no, she's not letting me eat.
Or she's yelling at me because I did or didn't do this or that. Part of it is, what is she telling him? And what she's saying, oh, I did nothing and my mom is screaming at me and threatening to take away my phone. Well, that's not okay, Shiloh. You can't let her get away with that. Or, my mom says I can't record with you and that's creepy. Well, that's not okay, Shiloh. You can't let her get away with that. We need context. That's not being provided.
Although I feel it's the second one.
I feel it's the second one as well, and that's what they're implying. But they're not, because they're not giving us further information, they're handing Greg every benefit of the doubt. In the eyes of the audience. In the eyes of someone who doesn't understand everything Greg has done, they've just handed Greg an out.
I remember he was looking me right dead in my eyes, and he was on top of me and said that I can't wait to get you pregnant. This is what people who
That's
are
called
in
a
love
kink?
do, right? I thought it was normal. It was also...
It's a kink, but it's also a bit creepy.
It's creepy because she's 17. But let's be fair, it's just a kink. That's just a kink, and I don't support kink shaming people. And I don't support using a kink to say someone is creepy.
I'm saying the whole situation is creepy.
The situation is creepy because she's 17.
And they went behind her mom's back to just sneak people into a hotel room.
Yes. Those are what make it creepy. Him having a breeding fetish isn't creepy.
It's just a thing.
Him looking into her eyes during sex isn't
I
creepy.
thought that was just what you did.
Yeah.
I know, but...
Have I not... Like, every love scene you see on TV, the two of them are into each other's eyes.
The thing is...
It's portrayed as romantic.
Yeah.
I'm seeing the whole situation, not just the little bits here.
Yeah, we aren't denying the whole situation is, but they keep bringing up details.
That's the section they
aren't
cut.
the important details.
Yeah, that's the section that they cut and moved to another area on, though. Now we're back to 2019?
Well, you know, nothing important happened in the 8 years in between since they couldn't get any of their statements.
We found these stories started to surface. Very compelling, believable, verifiable stories about...
You mean like about how he killed people? Very believable and verifiable, Chris.
Those haven't been brought up in this yet. You can't bash him for it.
I know.
I will bash Chris Hansen.
You can. I'm saying.
All I
But
please.
it is not against this documentary.
Yes, you're right. You're right. It's still against Chris.
He's still sexy motherfucker.
Listen, you're not wrong. I'd do him.
You do most anything, though.
I would not. I wouldn't do Shiloh.
Who would?
Plastic bag, maybe.
Who needs Sienna, apparently?
Yeah, well, he was probably getting desperate. Have you seen his hairdo?
No, but I have seen his vegetarian body.
Don't worry. We know he likes to eat cucumbers. You said he was married to a dude now.
Is in fact
He looks like a stoned Ron Weasley.
He does.
The R. of YouTube. That's
Are you really gonna platform Blair White?
He finally faced someone who'd been around a long time. I'm Chris Hansen.
What do you mean it's been around a long time? What does that have to do with anything?
Well, you see,
Journalist,
boomer logic. I'm older, I must be
40
better.
years.
Boomer logic, yeah.
I work on television, crime, investigative stories.
Not anymore, you don't, ever since you got outed for having sex outside of your marriage with your, what was it, minor colleague, and then forcing her to quit to try and cover up for you? You don't work in TV anymore, Chris. No one will touch you with a 20-foot pole. And now that's true of YouTube as well.
You know what he does do, though? Very carefully avoids saying he actually has any qualifications to be doing this.
I can't defend him.
The YouTube channel started as a bit of an experiment. A lot of people in this business have started YouTube channel.
If by experiment you mean the YouTube channel started as a way to put something online so that I couldn't be sued over appropriating funds from a GoFundMe illegally, yes, good experiment.
I cannot think of many other stories involved with the YouTube community that have gotten this much attention, this much energy.
I also haven't looked for any others, but of others you're on there all the day.
Dramageddon, definitely.
You're on there all day, we know you can think of more. Just start playing.
Shane Dawson?
He said he couldn't think of any.
Because he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yes, I know. What's the point?
Hang on, I need to back up. How in the hell did they platform Blair White?
I know, Blair White is such a...
Was she the one that looked like a slightly whiter Rihanna?
Out of everyone that you could platform, you had to pick her. It just shows they have no idea what they're doing. Actually, that's just his German
Everyone
accent.
involved is making money off of this. It's the modern influencer version of TMZ.
It's what?
The modern influencer version of TMZ. This is just drama. It's not important. That is what he just said.
He basically just said that all of them were doing it because it made them money, not because they actually cared about people that Onision was hurting.
And that whatever he was doing wasn't actually important. It's just drama.
Yeah. You made some bad...
Maybe he thinks TMZ has actual value.
You
I
have
don't
made
think
some
he does.
bad statements up until now, but you've got to be kidding me.
I had
It's
reached
his
out
balls.
multiple times to get his
Oh, he
side
has
of the
those?
story. Initially, he demanded $350,000, and he put all kinds of
Oh,
other
you're actually going to
restrictions
discuss this?
demands in place, and it was obviously something I couldn't agree to.
Hey guys, so if you ever
Excuse
wondered
me?
what happened with Onision and Chris Hansen, the answer is I emailed him to do a charity interview, and he agreed to do it, but then he said he wanted to be pre-recorded, and I said no, I want it to be live, and I said if he was going to pre-record it, I would stream it live.
I talked to some of the victim survivors. They asked me not to do it because he will make a mockery of it.
Excuse me?
In that format, I don't have control over it.
I tried to deliver, I tried to...
I don't have control. It's your interview.
Yeah, but I don't know what their answers are going to be.
Are you that bad of an interviewer that you don't have the ability to control an interview? Also, it's an interview. The purpose of an interview is to get their answers, not to control a conversation. Oh my god.
I can't defend with cherub-like people.
Oh my god. That's what I discussed earlier. The whole thing about how Greg agreed to everything Chris wanted and Chris still backed out. Apparently this is his excuse.
entertain you with the Chris Hansen interview, but he ran away. I scared little pup.
He did.
It became pretty clear that I needed to do an interview with him face to face in order to have it be productive in any way.
Oh my
What?
So I ended up saying, no, we're not going to do it that way.
Hansen doesn't want to talk to anybody on the other side. That's not a journalist, you guys. I agreed to his terms.
Yes,
No,
you did.
I'm not going to do it.
He did.
Because of the Predator series and because it ignited passions, I had no idea that this investigation would result in me being personally attacked.
You seem to be this person who likes to pretend that you're against older men taking advantage of younger women. Yet, according to the news, you are an older man taking advantage of a younger woman.
Yeah.
Onision is going to make all kinds of allegations. He always does. He'll accuse people of all kinds of things. And he just doesn't care.
Back up!
And now we're going back to 2018.
No. Back the train the fuck up. What difference would an in-person interview make? Firstly. What difference would an in-person interview make? What could he do in an in-person interview that he wouldn't be able to do?
Well, you see.
More confidence.
You see,
he
he's
doesn't
a
have much
boomer.
confidence online.
He's a boomer. The person isn't actually real unless they're there in front of him.
Okay, let's assume that that's true. Let's assume that that's true. Secondly, he just glosses over the fact that that allegation. He's like, oh, Greg will make allegations. Except they're not allegations. Well, I guess they are allegations, but they're factual allegations. The girl that he ruined the career of wasn't underage, no. But she was significantly younger than him.
Well, it's not creepy unless they're legal.
But he just brushes it off like, oh, it's an allegation.
Well, that's what his lawyer recommended he say when someone mentioned it to him?
Here's a better idea. Either A, don't bring it up at all, or B, address it.
Yeah, I'm not saying it was necessarily a good idea. Also, the fact that this documentary just kind of leaves it as, yeah, it was an allegation. That's all we're mentioning. I believe this is why you hired the voiceover people to kind of fill in the details that the interviewed people leave out when you do your research.
But like documentary, you shouldn't be having someone who's involved and who knows about the situation be agreeing with Onision. I shouldn't be sitting here watching a documentary that calls out Onision agreeing with him.
Psychiatric exam because it just wasn't true.
They concluded that that person was violated by my father.
I knew it wasn't true.
What person?
She didn't have any behavioral changes at all. There was none of that kind of...
I have no idea.
...behavior of...
Stepmother?
...distancing.
No, the she that they're referencing.
To have
I don't know.
That type of...
I'm gonna guess the sisters?
...closeness.
Okay.
What's this shitty ass setup?
I have no idea.
Is this for be prepared to commit suicide after using a lead?
Hey, calling your... Oh my god, is that Onision?
Shut up.
2011! We're back in 2011!
What? When we first started doing videos together, they were all scripted by him.
Okay.
All directed by him.
Yeah.
We would film a lot of the day, and then at nighttime he would edit them, and I would sleep.
Yes, this sounds like a YouTube relationship.
He would have costumes and characters involved in the shooting that he put a lot of work into it. He was always making controversial content, but it definitely started to get more eerie.
More eerie? Literally everything so far is a YouTube relationship. What are you talking about?
Okay, I'd just like to put this on an alternative method. So we wanted to make videos together before we got together, and after we got together, I became part of his business and we worked together on it.
Yeah, that's an appropriate rephrasing. When are we gonna get to the actually abusive stuff? Of him emotionally abusing you on camera, of him refusing to take you to a hospital.
I don't know. They showed him being emotionally abusive.
The one time, but she's not addressing it. She's listing off.
Before that.
She's listing off things that summarize a not that great but not abusive relationship.
I mean, maybe we'll get to the abusive later to show that it didn't just instantly be abusive.
Yeah.
He would kill me in a lot of his videos. He would shoot me.
Yes, and?
Hi, I'm Shiloh. Hi, beautiful.
A lot of the times
No.
I would play a dumb female character that didn't know anything about anything, being degraded in some sort of way for comedy.
She is out.
So what?
She's getting so pissed.
I was an entertainer, and so it was kind of normal to me, and I guess probably was the only creative outlet that I had, so...
You know, since you've stopped doing
Okay,
it.
first off, I got shot in a lot of his videos. Bitch, I've watched Cat Icarus. Are we gonna start claiming that Cat Icarus is abusive to his stepchildren?
I've watched what I suggest you do to me in your videos.
Yeah. Yes! I'm just like, hey Josh, wanna get killed on camera for fun? And he's like, hell yeah!
And I'm like, well, what if you did it this way?
Yeah! That literally doesn't mean anything.
I mean, I guess the commonality of her being a completely stupid female character is indicative of his overall opinion of females as being mentally inferior.
Yes, but the thing is, he played a lot of really stupid male and female characters.
Yeah, no, I think that's content. So, taken by itself, what she's saying right now could be indicative of an overall dismissive
taken
opinion.
by itself, but he played a lot of stupid male and female characters.
Like someone who would choke someone out that inefficiently on a couch.
Yeah. It's not... None of this is indicative of anything. All you've told us is that you played a stupid character, which... That was YouTube back then. Stupid character sold.
Yeah.
Annoying Orange. Fred. Need I go on? And...
Stupidity was the bit.
Anything that they've shown from what he did before.
And you've told us that he made simulated violent content, which... Hot take here, violence is funny. And if you disagree with me, explain Tom and Jerry.
Let's just go with explain the fact that it's what makes news.
Yeah.
Violence sells.
It sells, but it's also
America.
funny.
I'm saying especially to America.
Yeah.
Violence sells. If you want people to watch your content, you're gonna do what people want to see.
I don't know what you're on about.
Without making fake documents.
Great face.
You always know how to make me smile.
I'm like, that's adorable. What? Okay. What?
Why would you respond like that? Who does that?
No, Greg.
Here we go. One of the actual things.
I think he was making at least 30 grand a month when I was doing videos with him. I never saw any of that.
I never lived in his house or anything, or ate food.
I never lived in his house. I never ate his food. He never bought me clothes or drove me anywhere in his car. Okay. The argument that I never saw any of that, when you're in a committed relationship and he's the one paying for everything, not you.
I presume that's what's going on. I don't know what's going on. Maybe she had paid that.
She's never made the claim that she did.
Seeing as she seems to make the claim she didn't have a job, I doubt she paid anything.
Yeah, she's never made a claim that she paid for anything. Like, I get you're saying he never gave me spending money.
But if you asked for stuff, you give it to you.
Were you able to say, hey, I'd like this thing, and you got it? Were you able to have input on things? Did you get food?
Because
that's where that comes from, because this was his job. It was both of yours job.
You shouldn't have to work your ass off just to live in somebody's house.
But he's also working his ass off.
Yeah, he's working more than her. She already stated he's writing the scripts, he's putting the costumes together, he's editing everything,
sleep.
He's shooting everything.
Just a sec.
Yeah.
He edits, quote, "Well, I slept." Means he's putting in longer days.
He's the one doing all of the work. She's just an actor in it. Could he have given her spending money of her own? Yes, that would have been a nice thing to do. But I'm not saying that it's great. But I am saying, like...
None of this is really inherently problematic yet.
Right. They're small pieces of things that make up a bad relationship. But just because you've had a bad relationship doesn't mean you have PTSD and have been abused and are a victim of something.
Doesn't mean that it's not adding up.
Yes, they
so
can
far
add
it's
up,
still
but so
adding
far
up
it
to a
all adds
non-zero
up to...
amount.
Yeah, it all
Sorry,
adds up
to a
to not a good relationship. I've been in worse relationships.
I know.
It's the one clip that they played out of the middle of nowhere.
Well, the two.
Yeah, they've done 2 clips now where it's like, are you going to talk about that stuff, or are you going to keep listing non-starters as if there's something?
The thing is, little things matter too as well as the big things.
Little things matter too, but you can't list them as
abuses.
As if they were their own big things.
Or if you lead this entire thing off with, and the relationship always had issues, not, here's this random shot of clearly what's probably abuse. Alright, now let's talk about some minor issues.
Yeah.
Here's this other abusive video.
That's how I'm viewing it.
Here's some
It's a whole
minor
bunch
issues.
of little things with big things involved, so it's showing how bad it was over
Right,
time.
but they're presenting the little things as if they're big things with all this grandiose.
Because they haven't actually discussed the big things. They've just gone, here's a video.
I don't see it that way. The problem is, I don't see it that way. You guys are looking at it from a, what's the word?
From a perspective that tries to filter out unimportant things?
Yes, where I'm just looking at everything.
I'm looking at how it's being presented.
He got me the phone that I had. All of the numbers were monitored by him. Whatever social media I had, he had the passwords to.
There we go. There's actual stuff.
He gave me the phone, yeah, because he had the job.
Me and my
The other
mom's
stuff.
relationship was
This is
sexual
abusive.
because I talked to her
I
every
think
day.
it's showing me that
He would make me feel
These
very
are now
weird about
abusive.
talking to them. So slowly but surely, me and my mom and my dad stopped talking.
Oh, you do have a dad. This is
He
the first
convinced
thing
me
you
that
mentioned.
wearing makeup was like something that sluts do. He made sure I had no way to contact the outside world. I wasn't allowed to leave the house. I didn't have any freedom.
But look like a lot of
Never
makeup.
got mine, right? No one will ever know how much I abuse you.
There we go. We got somewhere.
How many times do I have to tell you everything that you want to put online goes through me first?
It took us how long to get to the actually abusive things?
Charlotte, can you look at me? I remember everything going really dizzy, and I couldn't breathe.
You gave these half-witted dipshits permission to use that video. But Repzion, in a non-monetized video where he genuinely was concerned about you and trying to make a point about Greg, you wouldn't let him use it or talk about it.
Well, she's showing solidarity with the other victims.
He exploited the whole situation instead of getting me help.
He did.
I don't see what else
This
they're
is
going
the
to do.
stuff that you should have been talking about the whole time.
Shiloh and
The video just went online.
Hi.
I felt like I was in the Twilight Zone, like I wasn't even a person. That's definitely really disturbing.
Thank you, we got somewhere.
One day, in the middle of sex, he told me that I looked like an Indian warrior.
What?
And
Okay.
then dragged me into the bathroom and shaved my head.
Ugh.
And then continued to have sex with me. I can see at a certain moment where I look over to him.
I have the weirdest half boner right now.
What?
I shouldn't be laughing at this, but what the fuck did I just watch?
Do I have a tongue fetish?
I've followed this for how long, and I've never seen that?
And with that as the explanation?
He told me I looked like an Indian warrior.
Weird flex, but okay. And then he shaved my head.
My head.
Are those related? And
These
then
exist.
he kept having sex. Well, I presumed that would be the next step. And then he filmed him licking my head.
What?
Was this like right after? Was this he meditated on it? I mean, I'm not sure I actually want to know. How many minutes had gone past since he shaved your head? Did he seem more excited after he shaved your head? Is this why you have so much hair now?
I'm just still stuck on he told me I looked like an Indian warrior. So he dragged me into the bathroom and shaved my head. What?
I'm still stuck on...
1, 2, 3, what?
He told me I looked like an Indian warrior.
Okay.
Interesting statement to start the section after I had a seizure and didn't really have memories and he did nothing and people said, hey, this isn't right. And then he told me I looked like an Indian warrior. Seizure?
I know I shouldn't be laughing because this poor girl was genuinely traumatized by this. I'm not decreasing that, but when you open it with, one day, while we were having sex, I'm ready for like, he choked me and I actually passed out and I thought he was going to kill me. Or like,
There are
he
so
held a
many
knife up
directions
to my
it could have
throat.
gone.
Or he tried to stab my eye out. Or I had another seizure and he kept going while telling me he hoped I died on his dick.
Well, you know,
Not!
it's like a vibrating fleshlight at that point.
No, please. It's not.
But
I know.
I was ready for one of those things. Something insane. Something bigger.
With more escalation.
Yeah, something that escalated. Not, he told me I looked like an Indian warrior.
To be honest, that is sort of creepy.
It's creepy, and the shaved head thing is creepy.
The shaved head thing is...
But it's so far out of left field that I can't stop laughing.
I get that the point is probably more the shaved head and exerting dominance more.
Yes.
But the Indian... We could have just gone with... In the middle of sex,
he dragged me into a bathroom and shaved my head.
Shaved my head and then brought me back to the bed and kept... The Indian warrior!
Oh, you're assuming he brought her back to the bed. I was just picturing him, like, finishing shaving the head in the shower and starting going to town.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's a lot hard to clog the drain with a swirly now.
What?
But I was ready for so many things. And you actually, finally, for the first time in a really long time, had my sympathies. And then that. I just... Oh my god. I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh.
And why this tablet? What's this tablet about?
We'll find out.
And I'm just kind of...
Are you reading a script?
There.
Or is she watching the video?
And all I can see is my eyes looking off.
Oh.
And I don't think I was very present in that moment.
It's kind of like, looked like in most of your videos.
He took all my dignity that day. I had no confidence.
You were
That
a
day?
musician.
Okay, that too. But that day? Not when he filmed me and all these other things that supposedly hurt me so much. Not in these other clips that we've seen of him degrading me.
Well, we don't know which of those was first.
A video. She has hair in all of those.
It grows back.
That's true.
I don't know how long she was with him after he shaved her head.
I have no idea. But not in the video of him monetizing her having a seizure and losing her memory.
She wasn't around for that.
Cutting off her hair. That's what lost her dignity.
Well, yeah. Haven't you read the story of Samson? Hair equals dignity. Tongue on head equals no dignity.
I hope that statement's correct.
Seemed like my only way out is that if I died,
Perhaps
that
a
it
lot
would
rounder than
stop.
I thought.
Thing is, part of me is like her eyes really do look dead in those clips.
Almost like he had
But then her eyes look just as dead in this current interview.
And they look dead in the... Actually, they look dead since any picture after they started dating.
Yeah, now that I think about it, all the ones before they started dating.
All the ones were like, hey, that one actually looks kind of cute.
And like, yeah, and like the first couple videos they did together, it looked cute, and then her eyes just kind of died, and she hasn't looked the same
Even the
since.
one where it's like the squeeze, you always know how to make me smiles.
Yeah. That's a really good point, and her eyes still look dead to this day.
Yeah.
That says more about all of this than all of her stories have. And see, I'm not laughing at that.
No.
He did it with Shiloh. He did it with so many others.
I felt
that's
like he got me and he understood my problems.
Who is this?
All about a false connection.
Who are you?
Feeling like you really know this person. I just kind of fell down the rabbit hole after that.
I watched Greg break
That's
that
Kai
person
again.
just like he broke me. The whole internet did.
There have been a number of perpetrators who are couples. I know Greg and Kai.
Who are you?
People.
Are they predators?
Undoubtedly, yes, they are.
Regina, that's... Oh, Regina's one of the other victims.
There is a big path of victims.
Zoom?
Needs to be put
The
in
other
jail.
two victims?
And that's episode 1?
What?
Why did they make this season... Why did they put seasons? Don't pretend you're getting a season 2 by labeling it like that.